So what's the Grape Explorer talking about today? So one of my favorite wines is Madeira, and I wanted to talk about this because I think it's a timely issue today to talk about Madeira, because as we talk about, I always bring up the past, the present, and the future. And the past was, at one time, Madeira was the wine of our founding fathers. And if you're not familiar with Madeira or exactly where it's located, this is a map here where you've got Portugal, you've got Spain, and you've got Morocco. And so we're talking about 500 miles off the coast here. Look, you get this little area called Madeira. I'm in Madeira. And it is an area that we call the archipelagos, which is a group of islands, and they're volcanic islands that are existing here. And of course, it's all owned by Portugal. And but this was a wine that has an interesting history, because back in the day when you were transporting wine, one of the few wines that actually would make it without getting spoiled, especially in the barrels, because they would buy the barrels and bring them all the way to the United States. And those wines, because they could take that long journey, ended up being like oxidized in a very, very good way. And the longer they actually rested in the cask, the more interesting they became, with really interesting flavors. But 1776, when our founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence from England, we wanted to get away from England, because guess what? England was putting tariffs on wine to America. And of course, our founding fathers said no taxation without representation. That meant that they did not have any ability to be able to fight that, because the original colonies were not allowed to participate in any political process in England. So they had tariffs put on there. And of course, that didn't stand with our founding fathers, especially Thomas Jefferson, who said, I'll be damned if I'm going to pay tariff on wine. So at the same time, Madeira was the wine of choice. And when they signed the Declaration of Independence, they all cheered and they celebrated with a glass of Madeira. And this is a beautiful, beautiful product. By the way, I want to give a shout out to a friend in Fort Lauderdale, Andrew Lampasone, who owns Wine Watch, who's got a beautiful store. If you're ever in Florida area and you want to check out the store, Andrew's probably one of the greatest stores there. But what Andrew, one day I was in his shop and he said, hey, David, would you like to try a glass of 1864 Madeira? And I was like, oh, I would love to. I've never had one in my life. And I'm here to tell you, to taste something like that, the first thing I thought about, oh my God, this is from the Civil War, the 1860s. And it was just fabulous. And it showed the ability of not only Madeira aging, but that you can actually go out and get a bottle of 1864. But we want to talk about this product here, because this is called, as you can see on the top of the list, it's called Blandies. And it's called Malmsey. And the reason why they call it Malmsey is it's short for Malvasia, which is the actual grape. This is 10 years old, but 100% Malvasia aged. We also want to point out on the map here, this is the island of Madeira. And you can see this is where all the production is going on for production of Madeira right there. And that is exactly where the Blandies Wine Lodge is located. If you ever want to go to Madeira, you can actually visit Madeira. It's a beautiful, beautiful island, but it's a volcanic island. So that's the reason why these wines became so special. And even Pliny the Elder, who we brought up the other day, actually knew his stuff. He knew about Madeira, because that's how far back it went. But at the same time, we wanted to bring this up because I think it's a beautiful part of our American history. George Washington, who was our first president, of course, on Inauguration Day, this was his favorite beverage. George loved to drink Madeira. That was his favorite wine. So we want to toast our founding fathers, and we also want to toast the Constitution, and we also want to toast that Madeira is what we consider to be America's finest imported wine. Grape Explorer, cheers.